You know, what happens when a casual comment, something you might say over dinner, sparks a quiet little rebellion in your own home? Well, we're going to dive into a pretty wild story that went viral. It's all about a marriage, a fascinating social experiment, and what it really means when someone takes your words literally, maybe a little too literally.
And it all started with this one sentence, right here, spoken by a wife, her name's Renee, to her sister while they're all having Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, it's a comment that sounds pretty familiar in today's world, right? But in this case, oh man, it was the spark that lit an absolutely extraordinary fuse. So picture the scene. It's already kind of tense, it's Thanksgiving, and it wasn't just his wife. Her own mother jumps in, piling on with her own critique. And the whole time, the husband is just sitting there not saying a word, probably just thinking about how he just rebuilt her dad's deck for free. You know, that very provider stuff they're talking about? This wasn't some private chat. This was a public shaming.
So later that night, something just clicked in his head. He made a decision. He decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to take her at our word. If his so-called toxic masculinity was the problem, well, he would become the evolved man she said she wanted. He was going to run an experiment and just remove every single trace of that protector-provider guy. So let's get into it. The experiment officially begins. In week 1, the husband starts this almost surgical withdrawal of all those behaviors that his wife and her family had just labeled as outdated. Let's see how it went.
And the change was instant. On Monday, he cancels his gym membership, the one she called performative. By Tuesday, there's a simple leaky faucet. Instead of fixing it in 5 minutes, he calls a plumber, to avoid a traditional gender role. And on Wednesday, when her car starts making a weird noise, he just suggests she call a mechanic, explaining that he's deconstructing his need to rescue. He's using their exact language. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The money. You can see the immediate real-world consequences right here. That little $55 he saved from the gym? Yeah, that was completely wiped out by almost $1,000 in new expenses for things he would have just done himself. The cost of evolving was adding up, and it was adding up fast.
And this slide just perfectly shows the growing gap between them. Renee is completely bewildered. She's laughing nervously, staring at him like he has two heads. But his responses? They're totally calm, completely logical, and pulled straight from the playbook she gave him. He was just giving her exactly what she asked for. And that communication gap was turning into a canyon.
All right, so now we get to week 2, and this is where things really escalate. The whole experiment moves beyond just money and inconvenience and right into direct personal conflict. The stakes are about to get a whole lot higher.
So, can you picture this? Renee screams from the bathroom because there's a spider. His deadpan response? Violence against living creatures feels problematic. He actually frames his refusal to kill the spider as being more emotionally intelligent, leaving her to just slam the door and deal with it. I mean, it's a small moment, but wow, what a big escalation.
And then came dinner out with friends. When the check arrives, he makes this big announcement, just mortifying his wife in public. He's applying the exact same logic to their social life, and she was absolutely horrified. His private little experiment was now having very public consequences.
And of course, this all boils over in the car on the way home. She just explodes at him, but he just calmly replies that he's doing exactly what she asked him to do. And when she tries to brush it off as just dinner conversation,